and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow host Johnny Paulus. Johnny, welcome in.
What's up?
Doing things a little different over here today.
Yeah.
I don't normally let Rogue Puppy in the studio / basement / office area when we're recording, but she's past 2. She's sort of starting to beagle a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm letting her hang out on the couch tonight, right behind me. She's got a little chewy thing that she's just absolutely enamored with. So we'll see. She might make a guest appearance.
Time will tell.
Or she's going to be a proper beagle and just hang out on the couch. So we will see. And you can actually see, because this past week, I finally got the bug up my ass to catch up Power Gamer Podcast's YouTube channel to where, from the point that I decided that we were going to have a YouTube channel until now, all the episodes are finally uploaded. And I shall be continuing to do that and try and improve the quality of those as best I can moving forward. So that was just a tremendous undertaking because I was about 10 videos behind, and anyone that knows anything about cutting video knows that 10-hour-long videos takes a little bit of time to make happen. So
yeah. Well, thank you for your efforts, Mike. It is
so that happened, and you all have responded. We've actually had very decent viewership for them being back catalog episodes on YouTube.
Good.
I saw a huge spike in, huge spike in the amount of people listening to our show since doing that. So, just this past week, a normal good week for us, we'll have 40 people check out the show. This past week, 160 people checked out the show.
Wow.
And that's not on YouTube. That's just on everything but Spotify. So that's pretty awesome. Over in Spotify land, it just doesn't seem to be where as many people listen to us, but we still had a nice spike over there. So yeah, I'd certainly blame, at least to some extent, the YouTube for helping out some. I think too, I'll have to monitor where the traffic originated from, because you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of the Twitch growth that you've been having could finally be contributing over here on the podcast.
The master plan is working.
Would be very awesome. I don't know. So I can at least tie the YouTube viewership together with the uptick that I see on our Zencast hosting, because it looks right.
Yeah, and speaking of the Twitch, I had a really big milestone yesterday.
You did. Now, I was there the whole time, even though it was quiet.
Yeah,
me and Mandy have been plowing through co-op stuff again. But yeah, what happened last night, sir?
I hit 100 viewers organically. So I did have one raid. It
was small,
very, very early in the stream, and I think it was like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, it was small. It was one of my good friends from Dreads community, Black Equilibrium.
Yes,
who stopped by. She's awesome.
So she raided. That was like 4 or 5 people, and then I think I got lucky because Creator Clash was yesterday. So all of the biggest streamers were all in New York for that event, and for that reason, we're not streaming. So here I am on a Saturday night. I start out and I got 10 or 15 people, and then I got 20 people, and then 30, and then 40, and then 50, and I'm like, fuck, are we going to hit 100 tonight? And then we did. So,
yeah, I think I capped it at about 115.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
But yeah, so I had my mod panel open the whole time as I'm destroying Overcooked 2, and it's ironic because me and Mandy are your two mods. We're
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
games off to the side, but then also monitoring chat to make sure that we don't need to whack anybody. So,
Yeah, everybody was well behaved, though. No incidents.
well, that is fantastic. Congratulations. You've
Thank you.
had quick success on the back of Marvel Snap. So
Yep.
hopefully it's not a flash in the pan, and you can tie together at some point 30 days of activity like that. And if you can, awesome. And if you can't, it's fine too. Your channel's much more alive than it had been in the past. So
Yep.
that is the goal.
I'm having a whole lot more fun with it. That's for sure.
It is much more fun to stream when you have people in your channel.
Correct. Correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is episode 105. Sorry, I hate saying 105. This is episode 105 of the Power Gamer podcast. We have yet another jam-packed show for you to enjoy of terrible, awful, miserable news and the games that we've been playing this week. So let's start with the games that we've been playing this week.
Yep.
I think we've been pretty good at the even distribution of game playing, but I think I went first last week.
I think that's right.
So let's hand it off to you, sir, to get us started.
Sure. So I rolled credits on Forspoken, and I have a whole lot less positive things to say about it now that I have rolled credits on it. This is unfortunately one of those games that you can tell that at some point they either ran out of money, ran out of time, or the publisher just said, "You're done, wrap it up. It's over." Because the biggest part of the game story-wise, like most games, is in the third act, right? That's where the twist is going to be. That's where you're going to learn more about how all of this happened and who Frey is and yada, yada, yada. Don't worry, I'll keep it spoiler-free. But it then turns into everyone's favorite form of exposition dump, where you're interacting with something and then a like crystalline figures appear and you hear dialogue of these things that happened. And then you walk 50 feet and you interact with another piece of light and more crystalline figures pop up and a bit more exposition has happened. And this goes on like 2 or 3 times. And then there's a portal at the end and it goes, "Do you want to go into the portal?" And you go, "Yeah." And like, "Oh, now we're in this zone. Here's another thing of light for me to interact with more crystalline figures revealing more exposition." And then and this goes on for like 20 minutes of just, and then this, and then that, and then this, and then that. And it becomes pretty apparent that I think they ran out of money, and I think they were sort of forced to cram the third act into as little of content as they could afford. The combat still was a lot of fun. I think what would have served this game better would have been if they hadn't gone the open world route. I think if they had just solidified it to sort of like a God of War thing, because God of War feels like open world, but it's really not. I mean, you can revisit other areas, but it really is like you have a goal, you're on the path to that goal, you finish that goal, it puts you on another path to the next goal. And story-wise, that works. And you don't have to have all these ruins with the same enemies that you're fighting, and then you open a chest and you get more materials that don't mean shit to you. The crafting in the game is terrible. The upgrading of your gear is terrible. There's so many aspects of this game that were really, really half-baked. And it's such a shame because I really did enjoy the universe and the setup. And, like, I'd love to see a sequel. I'd love to see them do it right. But ultimately, they fumbled the ball real hard about halfway through the game. The first 10 hours of the game, pretty good. And I'm going, why did this game get so poorly reviewed? And then it reached a point that I think any of us that have finished a mediocre game gets, where we go, I don't care anymore. I just want to be done with this. And I hit that point with probably 8 or 10 hours more gameplay to go.
You've been hitting those points though more and more frequently, it seems, with games.
I just hit a wall with it. Well, and I'll sum it up this way. So after the credits roll, and there's a little post-credit teaser for what's to come if they make a sequel.
Yeah.
And my wife,
was it everyone at the studio being fired? I'm sorry, go ahead.
My wife, who watched me play every minute of this game, she sees this teaser for the next sequel, and she goes, "Aw, they had hoped they were going to make another one." And it's like that's kind of how poorly the game ended. I think I got to go in like the 60s on this. Like it's a 6.5, 6.4. If you could scoop it on sale, I did enjoy some parts of it. Just go in knowing that the ending is not all that. It's pretty disappointing, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I'm still very excited to play this game, and I still have high hopes for it. That even with your criticisms, I think there may be a good chance that I enjoy this game more than you did.
Maybe.
So fear not, people, because you and I do have very differing tastes in games.
Very true.
But yeah, so what's funny is a lot of the things that you mentioned, I actually, as I'm sitting here, like kind of processing it, right? I'm like, yeah, what were some other games that did the crystalline
Mass
form?
Effect.
Horizon.
Horizon does
does the fuck out of that.
Yeah.
And Horizon also has a terrible crafting system.
Mm-hmm. This is so much worse.
Okay, so it's
so much.
It's
worse.
like Bush League Horizon.
So the crafting system, everything you loot, there's a couple little herbs and shit that you can pick, and those are that you can make potions.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else you pick, they're all different kinds of crystals or gems that have fancy names, and you, after 30, 40 hours in this game, I have no idea what any of them are. And in the crafting system, it's like, well, you can take 2 garbledygooks and turn it into 1 flim flam, and I'm like, okay, let's do that. And that's literally the system. And then the upgrade is like, all right, well, let me go to the cloak and see if I can upgrade it. Oh shit, I need another gym jam. All right, let me go. Oh, okay, cool. I can convert 2 garbledygooks to 2 flim flams, and I can upgrade my armor twice. It's really, really weak. It's super, super underbaked.
That's awesome.
Just another example, before you leave out for your big adventure, you run into these kids that are like, what's it like out there? Can you show us what it looks like? And Frey's like, well, actually, I have this thing. It's called a phone, and I could probably take some pictures and bring them back to you. And the kids are like, yes, we want to see what the outside world looks like. So you're doing this sort of side quest where every time you get to a new big vista with a cool view, you bust out your phone, you take a picture. So I'm busting my ass to do this fucking quest, right? Because there are some where you're like, shit, it's all the way up on the top of that fucking mountain. All right, let me climb up there, work my way around. All right, cool. Boom. All right, I have all 6 photos. Let me go turn in this quest. And the kids are literally like, yay, what else can you show us? And then cuts back and goes, you've unlocked photo filter black and white, photo filter colorized, photo filter this. And I'm like, dear Lord. Even just a necklace, like something of any value other than an Instagram photo filter in my Forspoken game. There was just, I hate to keep ragging on it because it is a shame. It feels like they bit off more than they could chew, and they underbaked so much of it. If they had cut down the amount of spells that you had, if they had cut down on the story and the open world aspects of it, I think you could trim this down to a really, really tight, 20-hour game. But the fact that they tried to make it this huge open world thing, I didn't give a fuck anymore by the end. I really didn't.
Well, the people that made this too, and this is on the top of my mind whenever I'm discussing a game. But if you're just kind of listening to our show casually, you might not be aware. But Forspoken is actually the first game for a new development team that came out of the Square team that made Final Fantasy 15. So it's literally them, and they just got rebranded as Luminous Productions. Ran their own engine, the Luminous engine, which I think is what Final Fantasy 15 ran in. And Final Fantasy 15 is not regarded as one of the better Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
And so that team made their first Western style game, and that's Forspoken. So, whenever I look at it, I see some of that Final Fantasy 15 look to it.
Yeah.
But then I'm just so enamored with the characters that they show that I'm like, I still want to play this game.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely still going to, even if it is a giant pile of garbage.
I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts. I really am.
Yeah, because, not that I try to be contrarian. Like, I do shit on some games really fucking hard.
Yeah.
But I generally tend to enjoy games a lot more that are kind of in that, middle tier range.
Yeah.
I tend to have a good time.
Good, not great.
Just okay. Like, just
Right.
okay usually satisfies me just fine.
Right.
Like Callisto Protocol. That's a game a lot of people are cold on that I was like, what, that did it for old Mike Dawson.
Right.
So no, I am definitely still curious to play this, even with the shortcomings and stuff. But I'm definitely going to be kid gloving it because it's XYZ's first game.
Right.
And ironically,
well, no, and again, I do walk away going, I hope they make another one because, like,
well, I think
I dug the story.
I don't necessarily think that they won't per se, but they the main reason why I think they won't is because it's Square published and Square owned team, and Square just dumped all of their Western assets.
Yep.
So I don't think Square's doing that.
Yeah.
Anymore. So I'd be curious, but I think between the reviews and kind of the middle tier sales, that's pretty well not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't foresee a sequel coming. Also fired up on your recommendation. You've recommended this game many, many times, and I've never played it. I finally fired it up, and I'm going to say 4 or 5 hours into Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning.
Dope.
And it's a fun game, man. I love the simplicity of you have a primary weapon that can be whatever the fuck you want. You have a secondary weapon that can be whatever the fuck you want. And this is the button for the primary, and this is the button for the secondary. So if you want to rock a big-ass hammer the size of your entire body as your primary weapon, and then a fire wand as your second weapon, you can do that. Mm-hmm. It feels a lot like an MMO, which I did not know that this game was originally developed to be an MMO. But as I'm exploring into new areas and I'm picking up quests and everybody has exclamation points over their heads, it feels a lot like World of Warcraft, actually.
Yeah.
Did you have kind of that same feeling?
Yeah.
Not the combat, but like the very colorful sort of exploration aspect of WoW.
Yeah, the art style in the game is very bright through and through, and I always dug that about it. But yeah, no, it's just got good, solid, like gooey feeling combat. Things, your attacks really feel like they stick to things, and that's always kind of been the best part of it. The story's good and everything. It's just it's such an interesting game because of its whole story.
Right.
Outside of the game as well, that it's just kind of something cool, particularly for a baseball fan. I know that's going to sound fucking crazy, but
I know it's a video game developed by Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling wanted to get into video games, and this was the one game that they made before he Curt Schilling them fucking out of existence. So, it's really cool. It was so unexpected when they came back out with this revamped version of it that I still want to play. I haven't played this the Re-Reckoning version of it yet, and there's been long rumors of more coming from them, but who knows?
Well, and the combat also kind of reminds me a little bit. I think it has to do with the camera angle and such, but it reminds me a little bit of the older God of War games.
Yeah, like them, Darksiders.
Yes,
It's very Darksidery.
yes,
The Dante's Inferno game.
yep. But no, I'm having a hell of a lot of fun with it. I bought it for very cheap, and I think I'm going to see this one through. It's a lot of fun, so I'm digging on it.
I don't think it's super long either. So.
And then I also fired up a long-awaited JRPG, Chained Echoes. This was a game developed by pretty much one guy over the course of the last 7 years. It was a Kickstarter that was funded successfully, I believe, in 2019. And I'm not far in it at all. I'm maybe an hour in, but I can say that I love the art style. I love how JRPG turn-based combat, where it's this character is going to do this spell on that person. I think to do it properly in 2023, you have to find a way to keep it fast and snappy. Otherwise, we just get bored. You're not navigating through menus and shit. It's a quick boop, boop, boop. Cool. There's that quest. Boom. It hits. Okay, cool. Next one. Boop, boop, boop. And I will say the combat is very quick, which I love. I also love the fact that the things that you're fighting, similar to Chrono Trigger, they're visible in the world. They're not random instances where you're walking through a field and then boom, the warp screen hits and you're in a fight. Like, you know what you're going to fight before you fight it. And I know it's a basic thing to be happy about, but I've played a lot of JRPGs, and I do prefer that system. I like knowing when I'm about to get into a fight. But so far, again, very early in the game, but I am loving it so far.
Yeah, that's one I'm picking up as soon as I get the opening. I'm going to talk about it here some, but I've been slaying JRPGs like it's my fucking job of late, and but Chained Echoes is very high on my list. One of the things I like about it most is, I love that a lot of RPGs coming out are going back to those beautiful hand-drawn graphics.
Yes,
but something
sir.
I really like with Chained Echoes is a lot of said art direction goes back to the 16-bit era. But I was always enamored with the look of, I guess you want to call it pixel art, but I'd say just hand-drawn graphics on the 32-bit era, which is where it just looked out of control good. And I always, since it came out in December, thought, wow, it's really cool that Chained Echoes went for the 32-bit look, not the 16.
Yeah, the Suikoden, the Xenogears, that style of sort of pixel art. It's very cool.
Yeah, so now I'll be all over that one too. It's supposed to be one of the best ever to come out. So can't wait to play it, but I guess that segues into what I've been playing this week. Dun, dun, dun. So, as many of you are aware from listening to the show, that I have been slaying through the JRPGs, the massive wall of JRPGs released by Square Enix last year. And a few weeks ago, I had wrapped up Triangle Strategy. And then this past week, I have stuck a fork in, and I'm so excited for Johnny to hear me say this name correctly so he can forever say it correctly moving forward. Diofield Chronicle. It's Holy Diver Dio.
Oh!
Yes, as opposed to the electronic diode. Yes, it's many
Diofield.
Many
Chronicle.
people get that wrong, but it is Diofield Chronicle. I spoke on a little bit last week. Diofield is sort of a kind of RTS-y, kind of tactical, kind of CRPG type thing that has the very BioWare / Firaxis hub base where you talk to all the characters and stuff in between. And yeah, it just does the same fucking thing from the time the game starts to the time the game ends, it does the exact same thing for 25 hours. It does the exact same thing. So every combat encounter you get into in DioField Chronicle, when you first sit down with the game, you're just like, wow, this is really cool. Wow, this is great. And I've got my 4 characters, and they've got a couple of attacks and stuff. And I can pause the combat, and I can throw off a heal or an attack. And then as you play the game and get good at it, you realize that each character has one ability that's worth a fuck to use. And all their other abilities are complete fucking garbage. And so there ensues your gameplay for the next 20 hours of doing the exact same thing every single battle over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where it withers you down into a pile of I don't give a fuck anymore, can I just see the end? And then you're delighted to one of the best twist endings I've ever seen in a video game. That's just the most mind-blowing, fucking awesome, and perfectly delivered thing that makes the whole grind worth it.
Wow.
And now what's also nice with DioField is, I said grind. Just playing the game is a bit of a grind, but it's not unenjoyable. It's just the same. But fortunately, each combat in the game is very short. 5 minutes tops, 5 to 6 minutes. But as you advance in the game, you're like, man, I could do those fights in my sleep. Guess what? You can turn up the combat speed up to 2 times speed and just rip through the game. And that's what I ended up doing is, once my party of 4 became gods amongst mortals, I just ramped up the speed and let them auto attack and fucking slap everything in each level until we got to boss fights, which would be also uninteresting because you would still just use the same 4 characters and the same 4 abilities to destroy the bosses. So gameplay wise, and this is a rare thing for me to knock a game on, but the gameplay in DioField Chronicle is its weak point. It's repetitive, it's easy, it's dull, and you will be bored to death if you don't crank up the combat speed to get out of it quicker. If you were to skip all of the side missions, I guess theoretically you could beat the game in probably half the time that I did, if not less. It might be more like a 12-hour game. But I also think that the side missions aren't really as optional because the only way I could keep pace with the level requirements the game was throwing out at me was by doing all of the side missions. Until I got to the last chapter, and then I just said, fuck this. My characters are gods amongst men, and I want to be done with this game. And I didn't do any more side missions. And each chapter is actually usually only 2 or 3 main missions, but then maybe 12 side missions. So if you were to skip them, you'd get through the game very quickly. But storytelling's great. Voice acting is fantastic. The voice acting in this game doesn't have any business having the cast of voice actors that it has present in it. I think the main narrator is the guy that plays Geralt.
Awesome.
So it's loaded.
That's great.
So it is really entertaining, but you're gonna have to play it in bite-sized pieces. It's a lot more entertaining than a mobile game. So there's that. Is this a game that other people might not gripe on as much as me? Yeah, I think if Johnny played the game, you'd probably be a lot more positive about it than I am, because you kind of like those CRPG gameplay loops, and I fucking hate them.
Well, so as you were describing it, and you drew the parallel to other CRPGs, of course, my brain goes to Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah, she's not on not on that tier.
But that's the thing is, like, I think why I don't see Divinity Original Sin 2 as a grind is because the fights are never the same. It's always like, well, let me metamorph and fly up here, and then I can blow up those toxic barrels, and then my other guy can do the wind to push the poison into that big group, and that'd be a pretty good turn.
You can do all that stuff in DioField, except it's not turns. Okay. You're pausing when you feel like it, but there are barrels for you to blow up and winds for you to blow. Okay. But I just built my team to be a fucking wrecking ball that nothing could stop.
Fair enough. That works.
And
brute force.
I had a Dragon Rider tank who threw out a cyclone and sucked everyone into the cyclone of death. And then I had an assassin character who had a very low cost, because I leveled it this way, character finisher called Assassinate, that if he killed the target, he would have no cooldown and be able to cast again. So my opening move for my main tank and my ranged person would drop all of the enemy characters to half health. And then I could spam Assassinate and kill every single one of them with no cooldown on my assassin. So I basically figured out how to break the game within like the first few hours of playing it.
Sounds like it, yeah.
And yeah, so I wasn't going to deviate from that for any reason. So overall, even though I had some strong criticisms of the actual gameplay in DioField Chronicle, the story makes the visit worthwhile to a point that you would not expect me to rate this game at 7.6. But it's a 7.6, wow. And a lot of that's carried on the shoulders of fantastic storytelling, wonderful voice acting, decent combat. It's knocked by its monotony. It's knocked by repetitive nature of the combat system, but the game's short. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and you can clear it pretty quickly. It costs a lot of money. The game hasn't been going on sale very much, which tells me that it's been selling okay. But I would certainly say wait for it to go on sale. Don't pay $60 for this game, or get it for a Christmas present or a birthday present like I did. DioField Chronicle I have completed. Next up, the true test of friendship. Yes, if you can clear Overcooked 2 with someone and still be talking afterwards, you, my friends, have a friend. And so for sure, me and Mandy, who had been looking for something else co-op to play on Xbox after, we'll talk about our first failed attempt here in a second, but she suggested to me Overcooked 2. Now, I played the shit out of the first Overcooked game, and so I was all about this because I love Overcooked. But I'm also one of those people, when I play Overcooked, I will not accept anything less than 3 stars on a level. I want to get the system down. It's just the perfectionist nature. And unfortunately, I found somebody that could get behind that and achieve that dream of mine with me.
Nice.
So yeah, we actually not only beat Overcooked 2, but we 3-starred every single level in the game. So I beat Overcooked 2.
That's not nothing.
It really shits on your accomplishment, though, as soon as you do it, because it goes, wow, good job. Here's New Game Plus. Go for 4 stars. And as soon as it did that, I was like, fuck this game.
We're done. And we're out.
Man, he's like, you don't want to try and 4-star him? I like looked at a couple of the scores. I'm like, no. Our friendship survived 3-starring. Let's not push it. Overcooked 2. I'm not going to rate that game because it's Overcooked.
It's Overcooked, yeah.
You should play it if you have someone that you can handle challenges with. You cannot play it by yourself. Ghost Recon Wildlands. I am quitting. and I'm very not happy to be quitting on Ghost Recon Wildlands, but here's the problem. It's so fucking broken. It's untenable. And that's a shame because, you know, there's some Ubisoft games that I really love that take place in an open world that are like this, like, I don't know, Far Cry 6. But this ain't it. This is not it. Not it at all. This game has so much fucking wrong with it that makes it intolerable. I don't normally quit games for this reason, but it's so technically fucking broken that I just can't tolerate it anymore. It's completely detracted from everything good about it, to the point where I'm just done with it and I'm not going to see it through. And I'm the guy that beat Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4. This is worse. This is worse. Yep. Honestly, I don't know how this game didn't get slogged for this shit. It's terrible. The core gameplay is really nice, but the bugs are out of control in it. Just absolutely out of control. The main thing that it seems to fuck up on is when you've died in a mission. Which did you play Assassin's Creed Odyssey? I think you did, though. The one with Cassandra. Maybe not. No, you only did Valhalla.
I never rolled credits on it. I messed with it. I played a little bit.
Okay, so here's the problem with Odyssey. If you sneezed on one person in the game, the entire population of that city, citizens and all, would only at death would they stop trying to kill you. And I mean, all the soldiers, all the townsfolk, and it just really fucked with me on that game because I'm like, man, I like bumped into someone wrong and now I've murdered 300 people. Like, no exaggeration. And it's not surprising that Ghost Recon Wildlands kind of came out around the same time and suffers from the same problem. If you sneeze on one random fucking person on the road, the whole country of Bolivia descends on your location. And I'm like, okay, that's annoying. But we can kind of play around that. So let's play around that. So then you die after the whole country of Bolivia descends on your location. You respawn into a safe house. As your screen is loading in, 4 Dodge Rams with miniguns on the back roll into your base and start mowing you down. And it's not just one base that does this or one instance of this happening. It's every single time you respawn anywhere on the fucking map.
You just can't get out of it.
So
unless you kill everything.
Correct. And what happens when you kill someone in a Ubisoft game from 2017? The entire country of Bolivia descends upon your location. So you would die in a mission. You would respawn. All of these trucks full of fucking assholes with miniguns on them would come rolling into your spawn point. You'd click on a grenade launcher, kill all of them, and then have to break your detection level before you could start playing the game again. And this just got so old. And finally we get to this mission. Like, we put in work on this. But we finally get to this mission where, like, it was just completely untenable. So this mission is you have to go into this town, kill all these Sicarios, and you can't let any of them escape in a car. Okay. So we get in, and things don't go right the first time, and death ensues. And so it respawns us right out in front of the mission. The trucks roll in full of fucking goons that weren't there before. And as we're dealing with them, the Sicarios all jump in the cars and drive away. And it does this, no bullshit, probably 10 times. And we just say, okay, that's it. We're just not.
So So an already difficult mission, basically just through the mechanics of the game, was essentially made impossible.
And here's why it's broken. Because when you fail a mission in Ghost Recon Wildlands, you do not get to continue playing the game. It black screens you, says game over, and then respawns you. So every time they would drive away, we would get respawned right back into the same thing no matter what we did. So the game was already fucking annoying. And I probably could have grinded through and gotten out of that mission somehow. But I said, I'm not putting in another fucking second of work on this game. For what? What's it going to do next? Just punish me with something else that doesn't make any fucking sense? No thanks.
Clearly they don't want me to play it.
I'm good. So, yeah, we have quit Ghost Recon Wildlands. The game is a 0 out of 10 because if I can't play your game, you get no points, you get no credit. I don't care about anything else in your game. It's all shit if it's broken. So, Ghost Recon Wildlands, you are a 0. And I quit you for good.
Ouch. Ouch-a-rooney.
That's right. Yeah, there's I can no longer say a certain game is the biggest piece of shit that I played in 2022. How about that? Because Ghost Recon Wildlands is.
Did you play it in 2022 though?
Yeah, we didn't really get serious about it until this year, but so yeah, it's that. Okay, more positive things to talk about. First, Hi-Fi Rush. I'm over halfway through Hi-Fi Rush. If you have not continued playing Hi-Fi Rush from when it first came out, and everyone's like, "Oh, this game's really cool," and then everyone stopped playing it, you can see it in the metrics on the game. So don't do that. Don't be that guy. The game just gets better and better and better and better and better. This game is so good. This game is going to be in Game of the Year discussions at the end of this year. 100%. It is just out of control good. I can't believe it's Tango Gameworks. It just doesn't make sense. I want them to, if they have the ability to make Hi-Fi Rush, my mind is blown because they also made Ghostwire Tokyo. Like, how the fuck did this one studio make these two completely different games so close to one another? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But if you had to put a gun against my head and ask me which one they did better, it's Hi-Fi Rush. And I loved Ghostwire Tokyo. Hi-Fi Rush is fucking awesome. It's crazy good. It doesn't make sense how good this game is. And the other things that I like about this game is I have not seen any clipping. I have not seen a single stutter of a single frame. I have not seen any jank in this game anywhere at any point in time, no matter what I'm doing or for how long I'm doing it. The game is a fine-tuned machine. There is just one thing in the game that even bothers me slightly. And it's one instance of one mechanic that you have to do every so often that it doesn't really annoy me that much. That I can't talk about because it's kind of a spoiler. So, but I'll just say that sometimes in the game you have to click a button when a circle comes over another circle, which is fine, except there's one instance where you do that where you might get half a second to register in your brain what's happening. And I'm like, oh, I can feel like other people are complaining about this. And it has to do with a certain, we'll say, substitution that you have to make. For those that are playing the game, you know what I'm talking about. And for those that don't, I'm being vague enough that I'm not spoiling anything. You'll get through it just fine. But yeah, other than that, I don't have any complaints with it at all. And I don't even like rhythm games normally. This one's great. Hi-Fi Rush. Get back into it, you fucking scallywags, and finish it. It's great.
I feel attacked.
Have you not gone back to this game at all?
Have not.
Oh, no. You're one of the people.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you turned it on besides that one time?
No. Had one session with it. Thought it looked great. Thought it played great. Haven't touched it.
No, and you chose to play Forspoken instead.
Yep.
Good God Almighty. Go back to Hi-Fi Rush, Johnny.
Okay.
You will love it. You will love so much of what happens in that game. Next, I said I was going to buy it day one, and guess what? I bought it day fucking one. Blanc. Now, some of you out there are going, Mike, what the fuck is Blanc? I don't remember Blanc. I don't even know what Blanc is. Blanc's not on my radar at all. I talked about Blanc before. I looked at Blanc and I said, Blanc's going to be really good. It's going to be really good, and I really want to play Blanc, and I'm going to get Blanc day one. So, quick refresher, if you're trying to dig through your mind memory and go, what the fuck was that game, Blanc? And I keep saying the name so it sticks with you for after you get done listening to this episode of the show. Blanc is the game that's in black and white, and it is a deer and a baby wolf. And they are lost in the snow trying to find their parents. That's the game. There is no combat. There is one joystick controls the deer, one joystick controls the wolf. The bumper above the joystick for the deer makes the deer jump. Bumper above the joystick for the wolf makes the wolf jump. And then the triggers make either one interact. That's the game. And it's great. It's just like puzzle solving, platforming to navigate through the levels. Is it co-op? Yes, it is. And it's actually perfect co-op for you Nintendo Switch owners, because each of you can take one of the Joy-Cons and you have all the controls for your aforementioned character. So it is a good couch co-op game. It's a good online co-op game, or it's a good game. It's a fine game just to play by yourself. I'm having a lot of fun with Blanc. I can tell that it's very short. A very short game. That's fine. I'll have it finished no time. Probably play it several times because I'm going to want to play this with several people. Blanc is very good. So if you're into cute games with animals, looking at all of you that were calling Stray the game of the year last year, maybe play Blanc, because Blanc is really good. And the art is just wonderful.
Agreed.
And finally, I've been playing such a ridiculous amount of Star Citizen. Just an absolute... I don't know how I beat 2 games, quit a game, played hours of Hi-Fi Rush Blanc, and then also played as much Star Citizen as I played this past week. But I mean, truly an obnoxious amount of Star Citizen was played.
Awesome. They
have their public test server up for the new patch that's coming out that adds salvaging to the game. So anytime a ship or something is destroyed in the universe, it stays there. Period.
Awesome.
Yes. And to combat that, they've made a very valuable profession, salvaging. So when ships get blown up, you get in your little salvage ship, you go out, you scrap them down, and you get paid fucking tons of cash for it. So that's all live in the public test servers now, and they've opened it up where anyone can join in the public test servers, which means it's probably close to being live. So it means if you pledged on the game a long time ago and you've been thinking to yourself, man, maybe I should actually play that game at some point in time, that it would be basically the best time ever to start learning the ropes of the game, because the servers are going to completely reset on Star Citizen and everyone goes back to square zero whenever this thing gets launched. So if you're interested in that game, or you've seen it, looked at it from afar, regardless of what you think about it or have thought about it over its long tenured development, that is at some points been controversial, it's really good. It's really good. So if you like things like Elite Dangerous, oh my God, this just, it's so, it's almost there. It's getting there. And you can sit and play it for hours and hours and hours and not even scratch the surface of what you can do with the game. So check it out if you've pledged on it, and if not, you can get in for like $40, and now's a great time too. So
nice.
Johnny, Whew, that wraps up what we've been playing this week. That was a good video game discussion between the two of us. We had some good stuff there. Now we've got some bad.
Yes.
And unfortunately, what is with Marvel video games?
I don't know. They keep underperforming. That's for sure. Other than Spider-Man.
Other than Spider-Man, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. So, Firaxis, the creators of course, Marvel's Midnight Suns, and also XCOM, have had some developments this past week. So, as reported by Video Games Chronicle, Marvel's Midnight Suns, which was built by Firaxis, it did not perform up to expectations. The expectations of Take-Two. Jason Schreier of Bloomberg reports, after an interview with Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, that the game was a critical success but a commercial flop. Zelnick believes the release window wasn't perfect, but ultimately does not have an explanation for why the game underperformed. As a result, Jake Solomon, who is a name well known to fans of XCOM and Midnight Suns, has left Firaxis after 20 years with the studio. Additionally, Firaxis' studio head, Steve Martin, is also leaving, making way for new leadership under Heather Hazen, and the announcement of her ascendance to studio head also comes with the reveal of a new Civilization project. So Firaxis, of course, is the studio born out of the success of Sid Meier. Civilization, of course, is its best known series. XCOM, I would say, is its best recent series. And Midnight Suns is a very well done game that's critical reception has been fantastic. But no one is interested in buying. Almost immediately when the game came out, it went on sale for $40. And the game has just flopped as hard as a game can flop. And, you know, it's really something that, Johnny, I'm curious to get your take on. Because now this is two Marvel games with big name Marvel characters in it that, you know, aren't terrible games that have just absolutely eaten shit. And I don't really want to compare Midnight Suns to Crystal Dynamics' Marvel Avengers, because we know that game suffered more because it kind of went for an old game model that had already run its course. But that the game was well polished, it was well made, and it just didn't perform well, even with the IP of Avengers. So to see a game made by a studio as beloved as Firaxis make a Marvel game, even me, who's not the biggest Marvel fan, thought that this would have been a surefire runaway success for them. And so my question to you is there a Marvel curse when it comes to video games? Like, what is it about Marvel, you know, if it's not some supernatural curse, is causing these games to flop?
Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Avengers flopped because they went with the games as a service angle. I think if they had just gone the campaign angle, I think it would have done well. I think Midnight Suns flopped because tactical turn-based games are a niche thing. They don't sell 15 million units. They just don't. It is a niche, PC gamer centric. You know, I mean, XCOM 2 has made them a lot of money. but that's over the years, right? It didn't come out and sold millions and millions of copies. No, it's a game that every time it's on Steam and it goes on sale, everybody goes, hey, you really should get XCOM. And then every time you see in the news of, hey, there's this new mod, some guy did a whole new mod, there's a whole new story mode, and blah, blah, blah. I think Midnight Suns is a game that's going to live on for a very long time. Not only do they still have a lot of DLC still planned for this game, we're going to be getting Deadpool's already out. We're also getting Morbius, and I forget who the other one is. They're adding one other character, I believe. But I think this game is going to live on in the mod community. And I think this game is going to see a lot of success over the years on sale. I think with the $70 price tag that they ask for on new games, I don't think people are really willing to experiment with a genre of game that they don't really mess with much. And I think turn-based tactical Marvel was probably maybe not the right call, even though I dug the game. I loved it. I think, we made clear when the game was announced that I am the target audience for this game. I love the XCOM games, and I'm a big Marvel fanboy. So I think for anybody that falls into that category was very, very happy. I think a lot of the people that are looking for a Marvel game, I think they just need to look at Spider-Man, and I think that the fact that the one, like the main showrunner behind Uncharted is now doing a Captain America / Black Panther game that we don't know much about, but it's happening. I think that's going to be a hit, and I think the Wolverine game is going to be a hit. I think what people want is they want the God of War treatment, they want the Uncharted treatment, they want a really, really, really good story, very tightly woven. I mean, even Spider-Man, even though it's like technically kind of open world, story-wise, it's incredibly tight. Incredibly tight. The characters are great. And I think Midnight Suns really suffered. Just it's a niche market genre of games.
Yeah, if I'm so you might be familiar with the site, or some of you out there listening might be VG Insights. It's where you pull data from Steam. It's sort of just a data compiler. So this is only looking at sales on Steam, to be clear. But if we look at Firaxis's history, Civilization, by far and large, is their most successful platform. I mean,
that's their breadwinner.
Civilization 6 on Steam did $340 million. Civ 5 did 272. XCOM 2 did about 135 million. XCOM, the original, did 57 million, and that was selling for about half the price because XCOM was a $30 game. Marvel's Midnight Suns has only generated through Steam sales $11 million.
Oof.
So,
God, that's terrible.
It's not been good for Midnight Suns. I mean, and Johnny, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The place where most people would probably play a game like this is going to be on PC. So the highest concurrent user count for this game was 8,500.
Wow. That's abysmal.
The game on Steam has only sold 263,000 copies.
Oh my God. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. That's terrible.
So the game is really a colossal flop.
Dude, y'all, listeners, go buy Midnight Suns because it's
it's
it's a great game.
Better than it's been performing.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely.
That's for sure. I mean, for it to have been outsold by Chimera Squad is ridiculous.
And I didn't even really like Chimera Squad, to be completely honest. I loved XCOM 2. I thought Chimera Squad was...
And now I can't see as detailed information on other platforms, but we can surmise that the game is performing like shit on PlayStation. It didn't crack the top 20 games sold in Europe. It is outside the top 10. in North America. So the game's just getting killed, and it's probably losing money, which is just absolutely mind blowing for a Marvel game again.
Yeah,
to be suffering like this. So
it's wild.
Especially one that was reviewed so well. So I don't understand it. Marvel people, you need to get behind your fucking shit, or they're gonna stop making these games.
Yeah.
So
amen.
This game's not bad. I haven't played it, but I watched Johnny play it. It's not bad. It's fine.
A lot of fun.
You might want to go play it. And Firaxis has already lost its two most important people as a result. So we will see what the future may hold for them. Finally, it's time to talk about my least favorite thing to talk about. But it's just a reminder, because we've had a lot of episodes where we've talked about this. And I just want to make sure that, ignorance is not your excuse. So our final news segment of this week, it's me, the Saudi Royal Fund. That's right, they're back. The Saudi Royal Fund continues to pour money into the games industry. And this past week, we saw their ownership of Nintendo increase. Now, for those not aware, coming into this week, the Saudis owned 6% of Nintendo. So every dollar you spent with them, they'd get 6 cents. That's how that works. So they've increased their ownership twice this past week, first to 7 and now to 8.26%. So the Saudi Royal Fund owns over 8% of Nintendo. In addition to owning all of SNK, they have, just kind of a good time to give you the full list here. They've invested $3 billion into Activision Blizzard, $2 billion into EA, and over $1 million into Take-Two Interactive. I that might be a typo. I might mean $1 billion. I'm going to go with it. It's probably $1 billion. Let me just check that out. But we'll say $1 billion into Take-Two as well. As they just continue to increase their presence in the global economy. And really that's all this is about. They're not suddenly interested in video games. It's that video games are considered they're not considered. They are the most profitable means of media at this point. I mean, the amount of which it has eclipsed movies is just completely absurd. Movies don't even hold a candle to the games industry.
Nope.
So that's why you're seeing the Saudi Royal Fund, you're seeing Chinese companies and all these things investing their money into your game companies. And why does that matter? Well, just as a quick reminder, Saudi Arabia is the country that has been fueling one of the worst wars ever in Yemen. They have some of the most rampant social injustice in the entire world, where if you speak out against the government, you can face 20 years in prison just for making a tweet that's satirical. This happened this past month. A satirical tweeter got 20 years in jail. Imagine that. Imagine if someone in the United States got thrown into jail for 20 years for making a satirical tweet about their government. And then imagine what it would be like to live in a country like that. It's the same country that publicly beheads people who don't live by Islamic law. And unfortunately, if you're going to soapbox about the morals of where your money in games goes, I just would challenge you to not pick and choose, and to remember that there are some great evils with a lot of money behind the things that we love. So keep that in mind before one throws rocks at others. Is anything Nintendo that you touch? Sorry to ruin some fun. I told you it was going to be A lot of fun with some games and then some super downer news.
Went downhill quick.
But that happened this week. It's important to discuss. So the Saudi Royal Fund increases its presence with Nintendo to 8.2%. That is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's wild.
This brings us to our final segment of the show. It's time for One Up. Johnny, get us started.
My one-up is Ant-Man Quantumania. I saw it this week. I was a little worried when I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score was 55 going in because I was pretty underwhelmed with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I genuinely didn't really like Thor Love and Thunder at all. And I thought Wakanda Forever was good, not great. So when I saw that score, I said, uh-oh. Maybe that's why I enjoyed the movie as much as I did, because I came in with such low expectations. But this is my favorite Ant-Man movie. You know how when you're watching Rick and Morty, I know I'm diverting here. When you watch Rick and Morty, and occasionally there's an episode that, for as silly and as ludicrous as it is, there's some deep sci-fi shit in there where you're like, I've never... in all the episodes of Star Trek and all the episodes of Doctor Who that I've ever seen, I've never seen this concept. This is a really interesting sci-fi idea. That's how nerdy this movie got. This movie got real fucking nerdy. So if you're into the sci-fi level of the episode of Star Trek dealing with, parallel dimensions and shit or any of that kind of stuff. If you dig that sort of thing and you can suspend your disbelief enough to where it's just like, yeah, we're going into a quantum realm and there's civilizations that live in this super beyond microscopic world. And this is how the rules of that universe work. And we're just going to go with it. Come along for the ride. The movie's fucking bonkers. I mean, it was really bonkers, and I loved it. I really, really did. It's my favorite Marvel movie since No Way Home. So I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I've always... you'll remember even back in the earlier days of the MCU, I always said Ant-Man was my favorite. I just love that movie. So as long as Michael Pena's in it, I'm there.
No Michael Pena. That was my number one gripe with the movie. No Michael Pena. I know. Massive missed opportunity. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, they're on Earth as we know it for like 10 minutes. And then they're in the quantum realm.
You could have Michael Pena in the quantum realm.
They could have, but they didn't.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity. But no, I did. I really enjoyed this movie. I like when creative people are allowed to just fucking go for it. And just in the world design and the creature design and everything about this movie was just like, they went for it, man. It was like every scene in this movie felt like another Star Wars cantina, where it's just like, who's that guy? What's that? Who's this guy? What's going on there? There's just all this cool shit happening at all times. And I loved it. It was eye candy. It was entertaining. Jonathan Majors as a villain was fucking awesome because Jonathan Majors is amazing. And I've really enjoyed the movie a lot.
Very good. Yeah, I do actually. I need to catch up on them sometimes because I stopped watching them at the Thor movie, the most recent one. I was just like,
So I think you're only missing out on Wakanda.
Well, that and the Thor movie. I didn't watch it.
The Thor movies, it's actually bad. I think it might literally be my least favorite MCU movie. It's really not good.
My one up this week is Whole Foods.
Okay.
For the first time ever, the Dawson family household did not get in our car and drive to a grocery store to get groceries. We clicked some buttons, and they just appeared on our doorstep when we asked them to. We had to specify the exact time of day that we wanted them to arrive. And they did. And it was dirt cheap. And it was amazing. So everyone, listen closely. stick another dagger into brick and mortar stores and fuck them till they die. Because the way of the future is goddamn delivery trucks. And I'm sorry, but stores suck. They're just the worst. And grocery stores in particular are the bane of my fucking existence. I hate going to grocery stores. I hate them. They always employ... I mean, just the amount of which a grocery store has gone downhill over the past 20 years is staggering. Because now you walk around a store with shelves that are barely stocked with anything just to get to the self-checkout machine because they can't be bothered to pay someone to fucking check out your groceries. And yet they keep gouging the prices up higher and higher and higher as they reduce their overhead more and more and more. And fuck them. Because I just bought all of my groceries for less than I would have paid if I went to an actual grocery store. And they were dropped off at my house by someone that makes a decent living, driving a delivery truck that doesn't hate his life. And there was all these people probably that put the grocery order together that also get paid fairly. So I don't see what the problem is. Let's just stop going to grocery stores and start acting like 21st century sentient beings and buy your fucking grocery store goods like an adult through Amazon and keep making Jeff Bezos richer.
I mean, I was about to chime in there. Amazon's not exactly known for fair pay, but okay.
They're not the worst. They're not fucking Walmart, dude.
No, I'm with you there.
They're not
Walmart.
GameStop, bro.
No, they're definitely not GameStop.
I know a lot of people who work for Amazon. I don't hear any of them bitching about what they get paid. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So,
yep.
There's always going to be people in these giant corporations that bitch. And I mean, these days, one dissenting person gets handed a megaphone the size of fucking Texas. So there's a lot of goddamn people that work for Amazon. If there was one company in danger of unionization completely fucking them if they didn't treat their employees right, it's them. So I'm pretty pleased. And you know what? If the little grocery stores, the mom and pop places gave a fuck, they would hire someone that can be presentable and friendly to check out your groceries, and they would hire and pay people to stock the shelves of their store. And then I would go there and it'd be nice and I wouldn't want to buy my stuff online. But when you make your store torture to visit, then I'd rather just not deal with it anymore. And that just seems to be, I guess, my one-up is spawning from just a convenient thing to a greater rant here all of a sudden. But I think this is the problem with brick and retail mortar in general is, you know, going to the stores used to be fun. Going to the stores now is surviving bullshit. And who wants to do that? I mean, when I want to buy pants, I don't go to a store anymore. I know my pant size and I order them, so I don't have to deal with trying to look around for my right pant size when everything's not in the right place. And then trying to find someone to help me. It's like, let's just skip all the bullshit. So, but yeah, buying groceries online, like that's a thing that I had never done before that now I think.
I've also never heard Whole Foods and dirt cheap in the same
Ever
sentence.
since Amazon bought them, their prices have been really low. Like even if you go to the main store, that was one of the first things Amazon did when they owned them was gut the pricing. So like if you want cheap produce, like in Annapolis, kind of our area, the cheapest produce is at Whole Foods.
Say, I haven't been in Whole Foods in a long time because I was offended by the
Go
price.
back and just you won't understand what's happening. Everything's so cheap.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah, Whole Foods is my one up this week. I am now shopping at a grocery store that's not really close to my house. That's just
Today's episode brought to you by Whole Foods and Amazon.
Ant-Man.
And Ant-Man Quantumania. And the Saudi Arabia
Fucking
government.
Saudis. Johnny, any closing thoughts for this week?
Nah, man. I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I think my only closing thought for this week is, hey, Marvel, you guys used to have good video games. Like War of the Gems back on the Super Nintendo. Marvel versus Capcom. That shit was fire.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
I don't know, but they need to course correct here. I really am holding out a lot of hope for the Captain America Black Panther game. I think that's going to be awesome.
And if that's not, Wolverine fucking will be. So
Wolverine's going to be sick. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode of the Power Gamer Podcast for you to enjoy. Until then, I am Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip-flop.
Oh, yeah.